News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. And there's your closing bell for this Wednesday on Wall Street, where a rally in several big techs spurred a rebound in stocks, with NVIDIA briefly hitting $4 trillion. Of course, we'll have much more on that coming up just ahead. But first, we do check the closing numbers. We bring them to you each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 gained 38 points. NASDAQ gained 193 points. The Dow gained 218 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.34%. The 2-year yield at 3.86%. We'll get back to the markets shortly. But first, Hamas says on Telegram that it agreed to release 10 Israeli hostages amid ongoing talks, hoping to reach a ceasefire agreement. President Trump was asked about the chances for a ceasefire this week.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week, and maybe next week if not.
Flow of aid into Gaza, Israel's withdrawal from the Strip, and guarantees for a permanent ceasefire are still being negotiated. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington. He's had 2 meetings with President Trump and a number of visits with congressional leaders. While waiting to update the Republican Senate leadership on efforts to end the war in Gaza, Netanyahu took time to lecture the media about his relationship with President Trump.
Israel has security requirements and other requirements, and we're working together to try to achieve it. Everything else that you hear and are being briefed on is folly.
President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu both say they want a deal, but not at any price. NVIDIA is now the first company in history to achieve a $4 trillion market valuation, cementing its status as a kingpin in the global financial market. Bloomberg technology host Ed Ludlow with more on what's behind the AI chip giant's dramatic rise.
You have 2 things happening: a broader expansion of capacity, where NVIDIA holds a monopoly, more than 70% of the market, but also a refresh, a technology cycle that's gone from being multi-year to annual, which is astonishing.
Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow reporting from Sun Valley, Idaho, where tech and media moguls are gathered for the annual Allen & Company conference. Linda Yaccarino is stepping down as CEO of X, the company formerly known as Twitter. Yaccarino had filled the chief executive role since 2023. Max Chafkin covers Elon Musk for Bloomberg News and says it's notable that she lasted this long.
Especially in the role she was in, kind of serving as a buffer between Elon Musk and the world of advertising. That's going to be a very difficult situation for anybody. I think most people did not expect her to last anywhere near this long. So in that sense, it's a really impressive run.
Bloomberg's Max Chafkin reporting Yaccarino did not give a reason for her departure when she announced it on her X account. There is a growing divide among Fed officials over the outlook for interest rates, driven largely by different expectations for how tariffs might impact inflation. Fed minutes from the Fed's June meeting show most officials saw a risk of a persistent impact from tariffs. Stuart Paul covers the U.S. and Canadian economies for Bloomberg Economics.
We know that the members of the committee are putting more weight on the inflation mandate. They're expecting inflation pressures to become more pronounced. It's going to take some time, and they are expecting the gradual softening of the labor market, which will allow them to stay focused on inflation in the near term.
2 officials say they'd be open to a rate cut at the next meeting that's scheduled for the end of this month. Some saw no rate cuts this year. And the president today said he would impose a 30% tariff on goods from Sri Lanka, Algeria, Libya, and Iraq, a 25% tariff on goods from Moldova and Brunei, and a 20% tariff on goods from the Philippines, as he piles more pressure on the Fed, writing on Truth Social that the central bank's interest rate is at least 3 points too high. Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Stephen Myron dismisses concerns about the Fed's independence.
I don't think that at the end of the day anything matters but what the policy rate is. I think, sort of sitting around talking about, about optics and committee, sort of internal committee discussions doesn't really matter. What matters is what the policy rate is and what markets expect the policy rate to be.
Hear more from Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Stephen Myron on the Bloomberg Talks podcast. President Trump's pick to lead the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Neil Jacobs, faced lawmakers in a confirmation hearing just days after torrential rain flooded central Texas, where more than 100 people died and scores are still missing. Hundreds of NOAA scientists and meteorologists have left that agency through firings, buyouts, and retirements, forcing NOAA to suspend 24/7 operations. Senator Jerry Moran is a Republican from Kansas, and he asked Jacobs how long it would take to restaff NOAA.
It's not a very quick process, but it's my understanding that the National Weather Service has direct hiring authority, which could expedite that, and also the potential to relocate people. So if confirmed, like I said, getting these offices staffed up will be a top priority.
NOAA is housed within the Department of Commerce and is responsible for the Weather Service, Earth Science and Climate Change research, and monitoring and managing aquatic life and commercial fisheries. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.